Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming along, and thank you for Keith for organizing this. I'm going to take you through two different subjects today. One is how law works, and within the law there's going to be some divisions, which is maritime law, international law, and the use of your language. It's the language that gives you the jurisdiction. I'll be covering a subject called death by medication. It's a report that was written and commissioned by Dr. Null. He states quite clearly, with all the evidence provided, that medication is the biggest killer on our planet, as well as a few other words. So I'll be covering two subjects and what that is about and why we are covering two subjects simultaneously, because they are one and the same subject, really. Okay. Now, before we do that, before I go into the seminar itself and the talk about the language and the law, international law, I'm going to get you guys to watch a short film. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes long, and it's nothing more than about the life of a cell. Okay? Once you've watched it, presumably that will prime you as to let you know the things that are going around in your world on a cellular level, as well as on a panoramic level, that very few people ever gets to see how life actually works. So this is a priming video to show you the life of a cell. And it's going to last about 3-4 minutes, and that's all. From the images that you saw on the life of a cell, those images were seen by people over 100 years ago, who created optical microscopes that were able to penetrate the cell membrane and move into that world, that universe that you see. But for some reason, none of you have access to an optical microscope that can see the cell membrane or a cell or the organelles inside a cell or how they function. There is a reason for that, because under international maritime law, all of you are dead. You are dead. You've been dead for a very long time. More serious than you can possibly imagine. And no dead person will ever see life, will ever hear life, will never speak of life. You will never make contract with each other, and you shall make no contract or a covenant with your God. And that's the world that you live in. How that is done is with the use of language, and I'm going to cover that in more detail. As we speak, we're just going through life babbling with each other. That language is known as babble. Since we speak a language of babble, what's interpreting the things that we're saying is our subconscious ability to make those interpretations. And this is how they get you switched off or stand down, and that's what you essentially are. You're walking around where your subconscious is stood down. You don't have access to it. You don't have access to it because the words that you are using locks you out of your subconscious mind. And as I go through what maritime law is, what federal law is, you'll start to see a glimpse of how this is done, the language that you use. And I'll bring all those subjects in together, and I'll do my best to explain it, how they're using that to enforce that you shall not make no contract with your God or covenant. You shall make no contracts with you each yourself. You cannot hear or see life. And yet the Royal Rife microscope is available. You can get one. The Chinese are making it, but yet nobody seems to know anything about it. They're using optical lenses made out of silicon to be able to see intercellular life in real time and photograph it. So I thought I mentioned that because it's there, and yet nobody seems to have access to it. The specimens that you see, for example, your blood specimens or your tissue specimens, all are seen as dead. They are dead. And when they look at the item under the microscope, it's actually dead. They're actually looking at something that is dead because you cannot see life. You're not allowed to see life. Because if any one of yous work out how that cell works, you're going to figure out everything. If one of yous work out how the ecosystem of this planet works, you'll figure out everything. If one of yous work out how your language works and how it programs your conscious, your subconscious and your unconscious mind, it's all over. Okay? One of the things that they have to do, and I'm going to make some sweeping statements and I'll qualify it as I go along. One of the things that they have to do is that they always tell you the truth. And I say the word always. Whenever they don't, they get caught out. There's a reason why that is. Your subconscious mind works at 120 times faster than your conscious mind does. 120 times faster. I am unable to go into the world of the unconscious because it is unconscious. So I will stick with the subconscious. Since it works 120 times faster than your conscious mind, it knows when you're lying, it knows when you're telling the truth, and it knows what the facts are, and it's already performed those calculations 120 times way before the conscious mind gets to it. And you might feel it as a sense of intuition or a dream, and then you act on it, or your conscious mind acts on it 120 years later when it's all over. And that's known as a migration period. That's how long sometimes it can take if one does not listen to their instincts for that information that the subconscious mind gave you, either in the solar plexus or any other part of the world, to alert you to that something is not quite right. That's how long it might take to migrate to the conscious mind. If your subconscious has been made to stand down and your conscious mind has been put into a state of fear. If you are disconnected from your subconscious mind, your conscious mind is in a state of fear. Abject fear. And that is what they do to you in the courtrooms. When you walk in, even before you've gone into the building, they get you petrified. And since you're petrified, you don't really have access to your subconscious mind. And on occasions that it will force its way through, they get it to stand down. And that's called an interruption. And I'll go through all those things, how they do that. A handshake interruption is what hypnotics would call it, a handshake interruption. And it takes less than a half a second, a quarter of a second to put somebody into a trance state. Okay? Before I go into the actual courtrooms, when we start to walk into the courtrooms, I'm going to go over the period that your conscious mind and your subconscious flicks over. And it's around you all the time. The job of the higher ranking judges is to make sure that they're quite literally flicking you in and out all the time. Up to now, you may not understand what I'm talking about until I give you the example. So here, a simple child's drawing of a box. We've seen that many a times. Keep watching it. Everybody, keep watching it, as well as the people behind the camera. Keep watching it, and something will happen. And it happens to you all the time. Tell me when it happens.
What's happened?
Everybody call it out in their own time.
Yes.
Happened a long time ago.
Change the dimension.
Tesseract.
Has it changed yet for you?
It looks longer.
Okay. Keep looking at it. Keep looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when it changes.
10. 10. 10.
Has it changed for you yet?
Yeah.
It's changed.
Every time I blink it changes.
Right before you is a mechanism that nature created to be for you to be able to create your own perspective. Okay? And this changing that you see is your subconscious flicking it around so you can see it from a different angle without actually it moving to a different angle. I held the paper. So nature is creating this all the time for you. And the period that it's doing that with you, that millisecond that it's doing it, is known as a trance state. And when that trance state occurs, you can see it in people's eyes. Your eyes start to flicker, even your skin becomes moist, and then it flicks over. The time it takes for you individuals to make that transition, where you are seeing it from this angle and then you see it from the angle, is the time period that your own subconscious mind works at in order to change that. And that's individual to all of you. Some people, it's a wink of an eye. Some people, it goes in and out hundreds of times a millisecond. The quicker it goes, the more simulated you are with your subconscious. Nature's gift. But what they do, the courts, is that they use these nature's gifts to lock you down. So when you are making a point of what you have seen, they just use the words to swap it, so they convince you to see something else. And they say, case dismissed. Yeah? And the language is what enables that to happen. Okay?
Can this be increased by a process, or is it desirable to increase that speed of changing of...
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But what I'm covering is that they're doing it, they're changing it for you. I'm showing you something that happens naturally. And I'm going to show you how they're using nature's gifts to lock you down. But what about the language? The language is what I'm going to cover, because they're using language. Okay? So before I go on to that, let's go on to the courtrooms. So before you go into a courtroom, you've been presumably summoned. Anybody here quickly can call out to me what a summons is?
Invitation.
Sorry?
Invitation.
One is an invitation. IN ironically means no invitation, by the way. No invitation. That's what it means, and I'll cover that. Anybody else? Any other takers?
It's command.
Only an authority can give a command. People of low ranking that have no power give orders. Those that have power give commands, like military officers, people with weapons, and so on and so forth. That's another bit of a language. So, beg your pardon, that's another bit of language that I'll cover as well. So, I beg your pardon?
Request.
Yeah, RE also means no quest. So you are not on a quest. That's how they got you to stand down. So I'll speed it up a little bit. I'll pretend that I'm an agent of the FBI. Okay? I'm an agent of the FBI. Soon as you hear that word, agent of the FBI, you're already locked into a sense of terror, because the FBI comes with terror. It means that they are an authority, you have done something wrong, and they have power over you. But your subconscious mind is supposed to kick in. Your subconscious mind works 120 times faster. If it has full access to your psychomotor skills, it'll pick up the FBI agent and chuck him to a side, effortlessly. Yeah, like any animal on this planet can do. My pet dog, when he was alive, could tear open the entire house, and he did so once. He put a whole great big hole inside my Victorian door, and that door is that thick. He chewed it right through because I locked him in there by accident. What am I saying? The point is, when your subconscious mind is alerted, it will perform any task that you want it to. It doesn't matter if it's a car that's on top of your baby, it will pull that aside. It doesn't matter if you're the highest ranking authority on the planet, it will nullify you. It will reduce you to nothing. So the only way that they can get you to stand down is to shut that subconscious mind off. According to according to a lie detector, say a machine invented by Carl Gustav Jung, There's something in you that alerts you to the fact that something is not true. What's happening is that your subconscious mind, since it knows the answers already, is alerting you to the fact that it knows the answer, not that it does not know the answer, not that you don't know the answer. It's just that the answer is that and only that. Now that's how a lie detector machine works. So if I approach you and say, I'm an agent of the FBI, I've essentially shut down your subconscious mind, which is called stand down. Because your subconscious mind knows what an A before a gent means. It means no gentleman. And if I tell the truth, why would the subconscious help you out? I've been honorable by telling the subconscious, I'm a no gentleman. But your conscious mind doesn't know these things. All it knows is that you're an FBI agent. And that's all it knows. They've now locked you out from your subconscious mind. Once that's done, and that subconscious is separated, you are left on by yourself, with your own thoughts, which is known as surface noise, going round and fear starts to take you over. Once that happens, you have very little control even of your psychomotor skills. You might even pee yourself. Happens quite a lot. Okay? So, what does an A before a gent mean? It means no gentleman. How do we know that? If I was to accuse him of being amoral, what have I just said to him?
Not moral.
So an A before a word as a prefix means the very opposite what you think it is. So they created a language for you known as Babel, where your conscious mind speaks this language of no moral, of independence, of request. It speaks this language with dualities and meanings, with quadruple meanings. And some of these words can have hundreds of meanings. By doing so, your subconscious is separated. And with that separation, they created another language, the language of telling you the truth. I'm an agent, which means I'm not a gentleman. It's one of the ways of fright. If you cannot control your fear, if you do not have control over it, they will always have control over you. Because one of the things that the fear does is it locks you out of the subconscious mind, whereas it's supposed to alert you. Okay? So, that is that, and I'll go over more and more detail, and I'll build up a volume or a body of thought around those words, so you'll get to see it. A summons to go to court and say what you need to do. You've been accused of something, yeah? A warrant, a summons essentially is nothing more than a bill of ladings. It's what one ship captain would give to another to say, you owe me this or you owe me that. And you would go aboard his ship and say, well, I don't really owe that to you at all because we've settled. And you would go, oh yeah, you're right. Sorry about the misunderstanding. And you'd be on the way. Okay? That's all that is. So how the hell did they get you to believe that you're going into a courtroom where everything is going to be equal? They lied to your conscious mind but tell you the truth in the subconscious world. Because soon as you walk in, your subconscious will scan everything and it'll know this is nothing more than a game. And it's going to help you out. Yeah? To make a game. And that's all it thinks it is. It's a game. One of the things that hypnotists will remind you is that the subconscious does not hear, see, or anything. It doesn't perceive negatives. It doesn't know what thou shalt not means or don't. Any of these negative words, it has no access to it and it doesn't understand it. It's called a negative state of condition, and your subconscious will not accept it because there's nothing there. It can't perform a negative state of condition. It can't go around thinking, thou shalt not kill thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, whatever the commandments are. Thou shalt not park on the yellow line, thou shalt not walk on the grass. It doesn't think like that. You cannot walk around life doing that. So you're locked out, constantly locked out. And they use these negative words in your everyday world all the time, so you don't really have access to your subconscious. Okay? So, he's got a summons. You say it's an invitation. Well, an invitation is a good thing. So we go to court, but in reality we're a little bit frightened because that's an unknown. And we go into court, and what does a court mean? Me and him are going to play tennis tomorrow. What is a court?
It's a field. It's supposed to be a playing field.
A level playing field.
Mm.
Yeah? Because if I am standing 10 foot or 2 foot or 3 inches above him, I've disabled him. Yeah?
Mm.
And if I'm just sitting in a very small area where he's got 10 meters to run from one point to the other, I've disabled him even further. So when you go into a court, your subconscious hears, oh, he's going to go and play a game of tennis or football. Everything is played on level playing field. So you get an invitation to go to court to play something. It's how the subconscious mind is interpreting. Your conscious mind is now fearful. It's going to court because there's a lot of priming behind those words. Authorities are there, judges are there, people are going to judge you. Already you're in a state of fear. And then you go into the court, and as soon as you go into the court, what do you see? Unlevel playing field. I've never seen a place where you play games where everything is unleveled for you. He or she is sitting above on top of you, which means they're not going to play any games with you. And not only that, they're on a different plane to you, a higher plane. Nothing in the room is actually at eye level. Nobody is sitting on a level playing field at all. And then they ask you to make a plea. Well, if I asked him to make a plea, what have I asked him to do?
Say please.
Beg.
Plead, beg,
Beg. Beg.
beg.
Mm.
Keith, can you beg, please? Show me how you beg. I don't think you should resist. It's only a game after all.
Mm.
It's in a court. Come on, beg. Your subconscious will help you out. It'll beg. And your conscious mind doesn't have access to anything. It's now locked into fear. And they ask you to go into a box. Under maritime law, boxes are omitted. And in that particular box is your prison.
Boxes or what? Huh?
They're omitted. They don't exist in a court.
Omitted.
Yeah, 4 corners. So, as soon as you go in, you're standing inside a box, and that box has a fence around it. Just looks like a prison bar, because it is a bloody prison bar. If you leave that area without the judge's permission, they can arrest you. They can arrest you because you voluntarily went into prison. Voluntarily. Your subconscious mind just simply walked you in there because it's a game. But your conscious mind is fear. Control the fear, you start to see things in a very different way. Understand the language that they're using, and then then the game is over for them. So you've now gone into a court where you know it is not a level playing field, so it's not a court. Somebody's sitting on top of you. You've voluntarily walked into a prison, so you know that's definitely not a court, because you're standing in a box. And you need permission from the judge to leave that box. So that is definitely not a court. No referee is ever going to ask you to beg for something. They're going to ask you to play the game. And we'll make sure everything is level for you. Level. Without any boxes. And if there are any boxes, that's the parameters of the game. Like hitting the ball too far or kicking it to one side and it goes out of court. Goes out of court. So we know the whole thing is a lie. So you're in court and you've made your plead. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. I'm not guilty. That's my begging. That's me pleading. Not guilty. The judge tells you it's my job to make sure that you are guilty or not guilty. You've now surrendered. And if you've hired a solicitor, you've essentially signed your way to say that you're an incompetent of the court, an incompetent, that you are incapable of functioning in a court. He now begins to make his plea before the judge. The game is already finished. They've already decided what they're going to do. So, you look at the judge, and the judge is sitting, usually under a small canopy. You'll see it on top of him. And if he's not, he's usually got a little hat on, a little black or white hat. The barristers, I think, have a white one. I think the judges have a black one. Anybody know what that is? If a religious person is wearing one of those things, what does it mean?
To hide their thoughts from God.
Their wicked thoughts from God.
Is it?
To hide their wicked thoughts from God, so God may not see me do evil upon another person. And if he's not wearing it, it'll be on top of him, so God may not look down and judge that person for what he is: a liar, a thief, a murderer, a rapist, an opinionator is what a judge is. That's in your dictionaries. So already they've openly told you what they're up to. They've told that to the subconscious, but your conscious mind cannot see any of these things. Okay? Yeah. Anybody can tell me what that black robe is? Sorry?
Magic.
Yeah, priest.
I can't hear you guys.
Priest.
Sorry?
Priest.
Okay, a priest robe. Anybody else?
I said magic.
Vampire.
Vampires? Anybody else? It has a word. It has a word, that robe.
Masters.
Cape.
Master.
Cape is another one. What does cape do?
Covers up.
Yeah, covers up. Okay? It's called the mourning robe.
Morning.
Mourning robe.
With you or without a you?
It's called a mourning robe. Good morning, morning are actually one and the same word. It means the death of. It means the death of, in that room, what you perceive to be as justice. To be just. Even to ask for justice is to...
Justice.
It is the death of justice. It's called the mourning robe. He puts it on to let you know, let the subconscious mind know, that there is no justice here. What you perceive to be just. What you perceive to be just. Okay? So all this information, all this ritual, all of this for your subconscious mind and for your conscious mind to go haywire. They've already told you who they are. It's only your conscious mind that believes the lie, as it believes in any lie. In the 80s, the IRA were terrorists and they supposed to terrorize me. In the 60s, it was the communists, I believe. Never turned up. And then in the 80s, it was black drug dealers. They didn't quite turn up either. And then it was in the late 90s, it was the Muslims supposed to terrorize me. They never really turned up. And before any of that, it was a war on cancer. We're going to kill cancer. There was no war on cancer. Then it was a war on communism. War on this, war on that. They go to great lengths, and this is where my speciality is. They go to great lengths in telling you the truth. Great lengths. And they have to do that. Otherwise, your subconscious mind is going to alert you to the fact that something is not quite right. And once that creature wakes up, everything is over. Because it's going to level the playing field. It's going to dismiss the judge. It's going to tell the solicitor, go and prostitute yourself somewhere else, because that's what soliciting means. Yeah? So far we spoke about in the courtroom. What about before you even go to court? Usually see scales. Yeah? Symbolic language. Your subconscious mind lives on symbolic language.
Justice.
Yeah? What does it have? Sword on one hand and scales on the other. And what is scale supposed to do?
Balance.
It's supposed to create zero.
Balance.
Zero.
Zero the account.
Zero the account. Zero. If it doesn't, the sword arm will take your head off. Yeah, I'm going to create this with that. That's my power. It's already openly declared to you what you're walking into, albeit your subconscious mind. I was recently watching a video on Karl Lentz when he came over to Britain to brief us on how common law works. And he was talking about use of language as well. And he was talking about how if a person, say a lady, suffered rape and she went to claim justice, which means to justate, to punish, went into a prison box voluntarily and said she had suffered rape by this person. And he reminds you how quickly the judge can say, case dismissed. How the hell did that happen? Anybody give me an idea? How did that happen?
To suffer is to allow.
Just one at a time.
To suffer is to allow.
Sorry?
To suffer is to allow.
No, I don't believe that. How can that possibly be?
Well,
This person has suffered rape and she has said that I have now voluntarily...
Jesus said, suffer the little children, allow the little children to come unto me. So to suffer is to allow.
There you go. One language for the conscious mind, another language for the subconscious mind. I suffered rape. I consented to the rape. Case dismissed. That's how easy things are, as you point out. So, it appears that if we take control of our language and the things that we say, we'll start to have more dominance. Because I did not suffer rape. The people in Australia, the natives, did not suffer rape. They were raped. They were murdered, pillaged from, buggered, so on and so forth. The word is not suffer. The people in America, or the natives in America, didn't suffer rape. They were raped, murdered, tortured. Word is talk, T-O-R-T, T-O-R-T, talk, taught, sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah? What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought.
My apologies. But it was leading on from...
Oh yes,
finding in
the
box.
world of subconscious mind. I have to go to great lengths to openly tell you people what's going on. And I make it that freely available. I make that freely available to everybody. If you want to know my business plan and I'm the bad guy, I'm playing the bad guy, I go out of my way to publicize this thing. I'll even give you my business plan 25 years before I'm going to put my business plan into operation. And if one of you hold me to that, I'll show it to you. But just remind me of that. Every time they assassinate a person, murder a person, say for example in the underground, they'll make sure an MI5 agent stands outside that station, tells you 5 minutes that a person has been shot in the underground, executed, murdered, and he'll give you the manner in which he was murdered 5 minutes before, to let your subconscious mind know, that the world know, we've taken somebody out. And 5 minutes later, they will go to great lengths to tell you he was murdered at, say, for example, 8:40, when the news was broke at 8:35. They would go to great lengths even to pull down a building, and the reporter will be standing right in front of that building, sorry, behind that building. He'll be in that front of the building, and the building will be behind him. And they'll say, gosh, the building has been blown up or has been demolished by a fire brigade, and the building is now gone, and it's still standing behind you. And you'll be waiting for the cue. And then the building will go down. They're openly telling you this is a controlled execution. Okay? That's the great length that they go to make sure your subconscious doesn't pop out. Because if it pops out, it's going to be the dominant, not your conscious mind. It's going to be the dominant. And if that becomes dominant, the game is over. Okay? If you guys want to look up a little bit more on the world of the subconscious mind, which is a subject in itself, look up the characteristics of what universally we would call, universe by the way means no verse,
Union is one, though, surely.
Animal.
Oh, yeah.
You.
Yeah?
No verse.
Yeah, no verse. When you go to university, you learn no verse, chapter and verse. So they go to great lengths to publicize these things, and it's on the internet all the time. You have parallel agencies. You have parallel police force. How many people know that? You have parallel secret services. How many people know that? You have a tort division. How many people know that there is a tort division in this planet? When you get raped, I don't go to the police officers, I go to the tort division. When I want a fact, I don't go and ask the World Health Organization. I go to the the Bureau of Weights and Measures and get my fact. If I want to know the toxicity of a particular chemical, I won't ask the pharmaceutical industry. I'll go to the poison index. These agencies are all existing parallel with each other. When Mr. Osama bin Laden, who I can't find any record of, by the way, of his existence even, when he was #1 terrorist of the world, the FBI said there's no evidence for it, so we're not going to put it on there. But the CIA had it on their website. Why didn't the FBI put it in? You phoned them up. Well, give us some evidence. Of what? Of the horrors that he performed? No, give us some evidence. Of what? Even of his existence. Yeah? That's the lengths that they go to tell you the facts. And when they tell the lie, then they get caught out very easily, because your subconscious is going to pop right out. It'll pop right out.
I'm not clear what you're suggesting then.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm showing you a reflection of the world that you live in. Your conscious mind will not allow you to see that world because it's horrific. If you don't go to work, you lose your house. You become homeless. A mental dissonance is created to separate him from that reality. And he'll go into all sorts of confabulation to make it believe it is what it is. Yeah, that it is not what it is. And that includes religious people, politicians, people that vote, everything, the entirety of it. Okay, it's called a confabulation. If you guys have got time, read a book called Left in the Dark by Tony Wright, a friend of mine. Or you can type it up on YouTube. And there's a... Actually, we did it together, didn't we? The documentary with Tony Wright.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the documentary with Tony Wright. And he'll give you an idea of the separation between the conscious and the subconscious mind, the dominant and the recessive. Okay, it's a fascinating read. So they go to great lengths to tell you the truth.
So what are you suggesting?
Or the facts. So beg your pardon.
FBI says he doesn't exist. CIA said look for him. So who's right in this situation?
One's better than truth, one's better than facts.
Mm-hmm.
One seeks after truth, one portrays facts.
The FBI is supposed to represent the real people. The CIA represent the fiction, doesn't it?
I don't know.
The military-industrial complex is who they represent. Their history is very interesting. It's the Pinkerton Detective Agency. Pinkerton Detective Agency. Anyway, that is that. We'll divert a little bit too much. I like these little types of facts and figures. I've now made some very profound statements. The only way that I can get to you is to tell you the facts. So I am now going to create a perfect legal system. A perfect legal system so good that each one of your countries will accept it. The rule of a con is create that con as simple as possible and make that con as big as possible. Has to be global, or if not national. Look it up, the art of cons. The simplest cons are run over you again and again and again. And the bigger the con, the easier it is to pull it off. Not my words. Not my words. And there lies the fault. Because if you know what that perfect legal system is, or that perfect way of lying to a person, telling the truth in one hand and giving the lie to another, Yeah, if you work that out, then you can address using that perfect legal system. Everybody here was under the assumption, which means no sum, by the way. Yeah, that's the prefix. It means no sum.
Oh.
Everybody was under the presumption that a courtroom is where judges made everything okay, that they settled the score, that you had justice, what you perceived to be justice. Everybody thought that they were offering, and the correct word is, a fiduciary service. But they're not. In reality, you've walked into a foreign territory aboard their vessel, sitting in dry dock, and he's the captain of that vessel. And he got you in there by telling you the truth all the way through. And you walked straight into his vessel. As David points out, if I was to board a ship in Canary Wharf that was flying the Chinese flag, or any other country's flag apart from this country's, I've now walked onto the country of China. Yeah, and I have to be taken to China and processed in China and then sent back for whatever reason. And if I've done anything wrong, I would serve sentence there. And that's what these courtrooms are. You're in a foreign vessel. You're in a foreign vessel. Okay, go on. Make it loud as possible, because I'm deaf in both ears.
As these court systems are independent territories, when or if, I've done this, I've appointed the circuit judges as under the fiduciary appointments. So does that work or not? Because
how you get it to work is taking possession of their bureaucracy and the language. If you're using words that have dualities in meaning, you've created interpretation, which means you're enacting the judge again, because it requires judgment and opinion to settle two meanings for one word. In reality, there's about 16 words per word, 16 meanings per word. Yeah. And if you was to analyze it further, it would probably be about 900. The greatest thing that I feel that Bill Clinton did for me, and I mean that sincerely, this is how most people are screwed up, because they only get to hear about the wickedness and the madness of sexuality and so on and so forth, is that it all depends, as he said, it all depends on your definition of is. Game is now over. He's about to tell you everything, so he cannot possibly be convicted for anything, because he's about to tell you the truth of how the word plays are played out in courtrooms. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, answering your question directly and indirectly, you have to access the perfect legal system that I created to be able to initiate what I am and what I do. That legal system was created for me to treaty with every other country to simply send letters to each other.
post office, with their system.
The post office. So let's come on to the world of the UPU. Now imagine he's a northerner, and we all know how different northerners are from southerners. We're a different race. We even live on different continents. I'm joking here, but let us imagine that he is on a different continent. I can easily send him poison pen letters because I've created a treaty with this country to saying the letter carrier, the postman, has the right to cross over to his country without any hindrance or stoppage to deliver this mail to his letterbox, and I have that in treaty. I can cross any border on this planet, cross any sea, any war zone. I'm completely immune. I have all the diplomatic rights that an ambassador or a judge would do. And I can freely walk into his country and deliver that letter to him. That's a powerful system that I created. A very powerful system. A system so powerful that anybody can take advantage of it by sending him poison pen letters, making false claims against him. Because of the power of the UPU, what they did is say, we'll create a perfect legal system between us, and we'll write that contract together to say that the post will never be used for eliciting money from him, writing poison pen letters, making fraudulent claims, eliciting money, extracting money. So in order to see that, what they did is that they created, under maritime law, because everything is in maritime law, independent little territories known as courtrooms, belonging to the UPU. And within that courtroom is a highly trained specialist in human affairs who's familiar with the UPU, or the use of post offices and post. And his job is, because I sent him a letter, or a different person in that country, to say that you owe me £1,000 and yet I have no evidence for it, which means I have to be punished now. To oversee that doesn't happen, they created a fiduciary service between him and me. And if I have a problem, I have to go to the Postmaster General or the Postmaster of my area saying, there's no evidence for this bill. Bills of the ladings, summons. That's what a summons is, a bill of the lading. It's a bill. And I have to take that to the fiduciary. If my postmaster doesn't deal with it, take it to the fiduciary. And there, I have to say, look, he's provided me no evidence. He lives in, I don't know, Birmingham, and it takes like 50 years to get here or something. Let's say 2-3 months. So he can't make that journey. So make your case on document. And since all paperwork is under maritime law, vessels, they are vessels, documents, document, doc, yeah? EMT means mental, so he's put his thoughts onto that vessel, used the UPU system of transport and fiduciary service to deliver that. It automatically becomes under fiduciary service, the UPU jurisdiction. And now he has to put his claim in, and since there is no evidence, the fiduciary there, between my country and his country, has looked at it and said, look, you haven't produced any evidence. Can you withdraw this, please? Oh, sorry, this was sent by mistake. Yeah, but you can't do things like that. Can we, get some money out of this for this settlement, yeah? I think you owe me £1,000 for sending this letter. Okay, I admit it, sorry. It was a clerical mistake on my part, I admit it. Here's the £1,000. I'm happy, he's happy. And the fiduciary is happy because he gets his cut. And the cut is use of the postage stamp. You now have a near perfect legal system to transport justice, or what you perceive to be justice, on a global level. And since the summons that they sent to you was used by the post office, it comes under federal jurisdiction. If I interfered with the mail in Canada or the US, what have I just performed? Sorry?
Federal crime.
I can't hear you.
A federal crime.
I've committed a federal crime. If I send you a letter making false claims against you, what have I committed? A federal crime by using the post office. So it is they that have performed the crime. And guess what? You have their signed autograph backing that document. Now, do you see where I'm going with it? But if they gave this thing, this mechanism, this bureaucratic mechanism to everybody else, then all of you are going to come out of the dead and into the world of the living, where you will get what is correct, not right, because right is a mathematical term. Which corner, right angle, which corner of the court are you going to fight? That's what that means, yeah. Right, it's a mathematical term. It means right angle. Which corner do you want? This one or that one? Sweetie, which one do you want? This one, that one? You claimed human rights, monsters' rights. So I'll give you this bit here, yeah?
Well, the creditors are all...
No, I'm going to give you this one here, whether you like it or not, because you're a monster. Okay? And I'll speak to you as a monster, because you're a monster. And that's the corner I'm giving you.
I'm not obliged to.
Unless you initiate the fiduciary service. Look it up, what a monster means. Have you looked it up? Oh, by the way, random question. The reason why, when you was in Ireland, that I asked everybody, do you know what the pharmaceutical industry means? Do you know what pharmaceutical means? The reason why I asked that is because the lady, one of the ladies was there, was one of the foremost herbalists in her country. That lady with a little daughter, foremost herbalist. She didn't even know. And I had to remind everybody that they go to great lengths to tell you what they're really up to. Do you know what the legal definition is of pharmaceutical?
To preserve?
No, that's cancer.
Oh.
Cancer means to preserve.
I mean, he's poisoner.
Maker of poisons. That's what that means. The next subject is going to be, how do you use the postal roads? How do you find closure, the word is closure, using the post office, federal law. By the way, this word closure is more important than we can imagine. It appears, unless we close and put a full stop into our sentences, the meaning of that sentence doesn't migrate into the subconscious where it can go about doing its business. Yeah? Whatever you do, you must create closure in what you do. If you're going to go for a run, put a full stop to it, rather than letting it run into your imagination, which Miller calls a dangling passable verb. It means it's just a philosophical thing running through your mind. And that's what they do. They create a dangling verb for you. Come and get it. And they'll move it around all the time. Yeah. So if you want the courtrooms to be non-vessels in dry dock as the captain of their vessels under maritime law, you have to initiate the fiduciary service that they were licensed to do under the UPU. Yeah? And that's done with the post office. And that's done with, sorry, I beg your pardon, that's done with postage stamps, because anything that goes through their system comes under their jurisdiction. But if you start speaking like a common law person, then common law jurisdiction is what you're going to get. If you start to claim to be a person, well, a person is what?
Monster.
A person,
Is an employee of a corporation.
that's it. So you'll get that jurisdiction. If you speak like a common person, well, you'll get common law jurisdiction.
Yeah.
If you start speaking as a man and a woman in the here now words, the words that say here and now, because that's the only thing that you know is the here and now. Everything else is an opinion. The world changes. The here and now jurisdiction. The jurisdiction of the here and now. Okay? So we have the federal system as an address, as a redress. I know what it means. As an address to take our complaints to, because they've used post office, and we know the bureaucracy, which I'm going to teach to you in a few minutes, albeit after a break. I'll teach that to you, how to use those bureaucracies that are available, and I'll teach you how to reduce an opinionator, which is a judge, into a fiduciary, to remove him off the plane and remove all the boxes in a court. Those are 3 subjects that I'll teach you after the break.
What is a fiduciary again?
A fiduciary is a person that comes between, that wants to see the best of you and the best of me and settle the score in the most noble fashion, honor bound, duty bound. That's what a fiduciary is.
Okay.
Full stop.
And is that without self-interest?
Yeah, that's right. That's without self-interest, needless to say, because he's honor bound, duty bound. Okay, so words. Anybody can give me an idea what UN means? What does UN mean?
United Nations.
Thank you very much. One of my credit cards, I have unlimited credit. Somebody tell me what unlimited credit means?
Not limited.
But I thought you just said it's United Nations. It's limited.
Oh.
It's
Damn.
united.
Okay.
So each to their own interpretation, bubble.
No interpretation. There is no interpretation. There's one language for the conscious mind and one for the subconscious mind. When you go before the United Nations, they already told you, this is a place where it is unknighted nations. Knight being Knights Templar. Yeah? It's a place of unknighted area. They already told you the truth. Your subconscious mind goes exactly like that. Nulls. It removes itself. The lady here said, before I came awake. And I had to say, when somebody's mourning, they are awake. When your mother calls out to you saying, wake up! Yeah, it means the very opposite of what you think it does. It causes your subconscious mind to go back to sleep and your conscious mind to pop out, where it believes it has full control of the entire world. Hence we have a dominant limb and a recessive limb, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. We're the only animals in nature that are not ambidextrous. And yes, there are some people that are ambidextrous. That's just to give you the perspective on the vast separation that exists between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. In between is a huge rift. Huge rift. We have words for that rift. Nothing can fill that rift. The entire world, all the calories in this universe cannot fill that rift. The human being, which is by definition a monster, by the way, that's the definition of a human being, is a monster. Bullentine Dictionary, I think it is. Nothing can fill that space, that separation. So all of yous forever go out working perpetually in perpetual searching of religions, ideologies, anything that will fill that empty space until you bridge that. And then the universe becomes quite humble, quite beautiful. The earth provides you with everything that you need and you're in possession of your language.
Why did you say, Mark, we have two opposite limbs?
Yeah, we're not opposite limbs. We're not ambidextrous, which means
Right.
this hand doesn't function as that. It's because the conscious mind is always fighting for dominance over something because it believes it's in control of everything. It believes that you're in control of your own money, your lives, your health, the air that you breathe. You are not in control of anything. If you just walk outside and look to your left, you'll see hundreds of planes spraying your upper atmosphere. Some of the chemicals travel up, some of it descends down. And as the years are passing, the chemicals are descending at a higher rate. It's taking less than 20 minutes now for those chemicals to reach the Thames Valley into your lungs. They've already cut out some of the sun spectrum of sunlight from your atmosphere. They've done that right under your nose in 201. Yeah. Anyway, that is that. We can cover other subjects. But before we go anything else, even before we go into court, we sign documents. We sign paperwork. Okay? And normally, you would sign into a box. And under maritime law, what does a box mean?
Nothing on page.
Sorry?
Court of itself.
Yeah. It's not in here. It's not in here. It's a different territory. And if it's that shape, it has a specific meaning. That's your coffin. And within your coffin, you put your joined up writing. Am I right?
Yeah.
What's joined up writing called?
Cursive.
A cursive. And what is the language of the dead? Curse. Cursive. It means to speak evil. It means to do evil onto things. They've already told you, you have placed your signature, your cursive, your language upon your own coffin. You have witnessed your own death. That's why I, being a massive fan of Angelina Jolie, I would ask her for her autograph on an open piece of paper where she would put her autograph in. If you remember, once upon a time, that's how you used to mark the piece of paper that was presented to you. And not up in joined up lighting. That has a particular point in history when that came in. Yeah, that's how you used to write your name once upon a time. That's autograph, which means that you're an autonomous being in possession of your own thoughts, the air that you breathe, of your own body, and that you're not outside of your body. Okay? That's what that is. You already signed away, you've already witnessed your own death, and that's your coffin. That's why you have to sign within the coffin, because you cannot move out of your coffin. Okay? That's what an autograph is. That's what an autonomous person does when they put their mark or autograph on everything that is above that. If you ever wondered why the Queen signs on top of here, is so she does not admit to any of these things at the bottom. She's not witnessing anything. Okay? That is that. Let's go back into the land of the courtroom, shall we? So he's got a summons. He's waiting inside. I'm the judge. I'm on all black. Somebody passed me my hat. I think, where is my hat? Somebody give me a piece of cloth or something. Yeah, give me that. Not a black one would be good.
Well,
A black one would be good. Yeah, thank you. There you go. So I'm the judge. I know it's kind of comical. I'm just taking the edge off of it, making it comical, but this is all very serious stuff because they're about to rob you of your life. Yeah? Judges weren't known as the hanging judges for any reason. There were hanging judges. They performed the tricks and the traps for whatever government or whatever master they're serving. They are the reapers of your world. You go after the judges, you've taken away the mechanism by which they rape you. I wear a black thing on my head. I come into court. The husher says, the town crier, the husher says what?
All rise.
All rise. Let's do that, shall we? All rise. All rise. There's always one who doesn't rise.
I've never rose in a courtroom in my life.
I got arrested. I got arrested for not doing what they were doing in court.
I have now done something to you guys.
Taking control.
That's only one.
Raise the dead.
That's it. Because you came in here as dead people, and I cannot take money away from dead people. I've given you back life. And now sit back down. I've put you back to death again. And now I'm going to perform my tricks, and you're all going to rise when I leave the court. I take your money, and you go back to the dead. That's the trick, and that's the trap. Also, when you rise, you give them jurisdiction. You're acknowledging them as the captain of that vessel. Remember, they're not judges. They are the captain of their vessel. Okay?
Autonomous of you.
Autonomous of you, sitting on a higher plane than you are. Performing traps after traps, tricks after tricks, until they've settled the score, which is to put it back into balance. If you don't, your head comes off with a sword that they have openly advertised they're going to use, whether that's a baton or a gun or a medieval sword. So, the reason why I have to get you guys to sign, is because I don't have the technology to be able to photograph that properly. Your conscious mind will accept it anyway, because it is that thick. It will believe everything and anything. I don't have the technology to take a photograph of a signature. Are you kidding me? I have the ability to read letters that are coming through your mailbox. I can read an entire encyclopedia as it goes through the scanners, and so can all of my computers. Closed by scanning it thousands of times per second, millions of times per second. I have that ability, but I don't have the ability to do that. So can you guys please put your signature in a box? Don't sign out of it. Okay? Your conscious mind will believe any of it. I'm also a religious person. I'm a priest as well. If you guys can give me 10% of your income, which I'll pass on to God, yeah? You make sure you do that. Otherwise, I'll level the score with you. Your conscious mind will believe everything and anything. Don't I look holy? I'll put a robe on. Let's make it black, shall we? Yeah.
If you send your driving license and your passport, and you don't sign it in the box, they send it back to you and tell you got to put it in the box.
No, what you can do is you can put your autograph in.
Yeah, but sometimes they kind of give you a bit of hassle. You get to the right person.
I'm not making myself clear. I'm not making myself clear. The system is rigged up to keep you floating as dead people, as coffins.
Right.
Full stop. Full stop. You're not going to get through any borders unless you have a passport. Full stop.
Right.
They're not going to create a bureaucracy where you're going to go past that because you're dead and no dead person can see or hear life. You shall not make contract. You shall not make covenant with your God. You shall not write contracts. That's fact. That's their laws. Okay? I want to make that very clear to you guys. You're all dead. Don't go protesting your deadness with me. Ain't going to happen. Who enforces these things?
DVLA.
The judges. The judges are the middlemen for whoever they are. We can talk about the IMF family and the UPU later on, because that's who they are, or the Vatican and so on and so forth. We can do that.
So what do you do, Mark? You don't sign in the box?
We'll come on to that later. You're not going to get a passport unless you put your autograph across it. But there are many things that you can do. Yeah? You can interact with the world of fiction. This is known as the world of fiction. You can interact with it safely and move in and out. Now, in the world of psychology, when you're dealing with the subconscious mind, you always have to tell the truth. Otherwise, your subconscious mind will pop out and say, liar, 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 liar. I know the facts, and that person has not spoken the facts because I know the facts. I can't discriminate, but I know the fact. You cannot call that the back garden and call that the front garden when I've come through that way. Let's pretend I'm a judge. Okay, I've heard a case and I'm licensed by the UPU. I have to submit some documents. How do you think I'm going to submit those documents? In the documents that gives the UPU full jurisdiction of the paperwork. Their paperwork in a very specific order. They take a stamp. It has to be one whole stamp, 1 whole pound or a euro or any denomination, 100 units making a pound or a euro. And they stick it in the top right-hand corner of their paperwork. All right? That's now got value. It's got post office value because it's maritime law. And maritime law is things that have value. I've paid my value. But that's an open stamp, which means somebody can come along and peel it off and reuse it. I need to cancel the stamp. So by buying a stamp, which means I've handed over money, it's a commercial contract, I have to cancel that stamp, just like a post office stamp. When they stamp that stamp, yeah, post office stamp. So the way that I do that is that I am now the postmaster. I autograph my name at an angle across that stamp. Not sign, but autograph. That now makes me the postmaster of that document. Vessel's dock, that's a document. Okay? And I autograph this way. So I put my autograph here to take jurisdiction of everything above, including the stamp. So I've created value on this side of the paper. I now take the entire document and on the other side, just like a letter, I put my autograph here. Now that is how a judge would submit their paperwork to the highest authority on our planet. When they see this, they know the game is over. They know the game is over. You're now submitting paperwork as judges are. So that means you're what? A judge. In control of what? Your vessel. yeah, and the contents of your vessel, which are your words. And you know what maritime law is, because any paper is under maritime jurisdiction, and it's a vessel, and you've paid your dues. You've paid for your registration. Yeah? You've now given this piece of paper value, real money. You've paid real money for that. When you submit your documents this way, it automatically becomes federal law, because post office controls that, and you bought that from the post office. And since this is how judges submit their paperwork, you now become the postmaster, judge of your document. And this also makes you one of the most powerful carriers on the planet. Abraham Lincoln was what? A letter carrier. Makes you a letter carrier.
Put your own signature across the stamp.
Yeah.
Autograph.
Autograph. Yeah. That is now federal.
Back and front.
And the back, you put your autograph across like that, as you would do an envelope.
At the top.
Yeah. The reason why that is, sorry my friend, because if you remember, in the olden days, letters were scrolls. Yeah, and that would come like that, and they would look at that, think, oh, that's from the king, King Mark, King Henry, whoever, and it would have your seal, it will have your autograph, and they will and have a look, and there it is. Oh, okay. That's how that works. The oldest system there is. Works brilliantly. Works to this day. All scrolls are like this, by the way. That's why when judges put their paperwork, it's in scroll form. You've seen it, haven't you? I've seen it.
Some of the old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And is it legal size paper?
Yes, this can be legal size paper. I don't know what legal size paper is,
Yeah.
but let's stick with A4s, shall we?
The average one.
This is for camera.
What
I don't know what
understand
notary
was,
paper is.
Standard paper is about, say, 10 inch, and legal size is just 2 inch long or something like that. Same width, but possibly.
Don't know. Don't know. But who gives a damn how big my piece of paper is, because I've paid for it. All right? I've paid for it. I suppose they're just tricks that they play with this, yeah? Now, under maritime law, I have to bound this document, and if it's got 2-3 leaves on it, I have to bind it, just as it used to be in an old days, of a complete scroll. Because if you interfered with the scroll, they can see it's been interfered with, cut away. So I have to bind it in such a way that nobody can pull it apart, and if they do, it comes up as damaged pieces of transport, damaged pieces of cargo. And you get compensated for that, don't you? It's been interfered with. So what you do is you bind it or fuse the paper together to make it legal. Or, as I do, I use brass stamps, so brass rivets. Okay? Somebody get me out a rivet, please. Can I have you standing up for me? Yeah. That's definitely brass. Ridiculously simple, isn't it? That's how you always get these things working. Ridiculously simple. You bind the paperwork.
You want to see that, just the paper.
Paperwork is now bound. And that's maritime law now. That's a proper document. That's a proper document.
So can anyone just take it and bind it?
Do you need to bind it all the way around, or is one enough?
No, it's just, this is for other piece of paper that's going to accompany it. This is just for the camera.
Make one
It's like the wax, isn't it?
several-
So it'd be like
Yeah.
a document, so your
Several
document
sheets.
can't be broken.
Yeah, so this is how it's going to be in reality. It's going to be several pieces of paper, or just one piece of paper. Yeah, so that would be your A4. And all you're doing is just bonding it. Yeah, maritime law bonding. And that's your document. And it's sealed. Anybody wants to interfere with it, has to tear it. That means it's been interfered with. Okay? That's how you prepare your contracts. With the preparation of the contract, I don't care what language you use. I don't care what words you use, long as you define your words. This is not Miller's teaching, because he has his own system, and that's what I'll be teaching you as well. But I want to make it clear to you, long as you have defined your word, they are your words and your meaning put upon this paper, so there is no misinterpretation. So you add a dictionary with it. Bind the dictionary, so nobody can interfere with that as well. You have now defined your own words, one word, one meaning. You've created it using the highest authority on the planet. And there is no misinterpretation. That's your contract. You've now created a contract. Yeah? And if I send you one of these things, and it hasn't got a dictionary, it's got multiple meanings, under maritime law, what address have you got? Or readdress, shall we say, for simplistic language?
No.
You have. Because under maritime law, I have to define my words. How can I create closure without it? Yeah? So, if you're going to ask me for something, can you define the codes for me, please? Can you show me the titles in which you're titled to this sum of money? Can you create the dictionary that gives me one word, one meaning, so I can understand what the hell you're talking about? Because you're prosecuting me for the Cancer Act, 1939 Cancer Act, and you're prosecuting me under which word? Cure, which means to preserve cancer. Then I should be prosecuted, shouldn't I? Saying that I'm going to preserve cancer. What other words is there, meaning of cancer? Yeah? Treat cancer. I'm going to treat the preservation of cancer. Is that what you're prosecuting me for? I'm all up for that. That is what you're prosecuting me for, isn't it? Or are you prosecuting me for something else? If it is, you bloody better tell me what it is, because I'll tear this piece of paper to pieces. Does that make sense? Yeah? To create closure, you must add a dictionary to a contract. One word, one meaning. I know alarm bells are now starting to ring, and therefore this alarm bell is now quite musical to you probably, since you don't have any word definitions in your contract with the contractor. Yeah? Does that explain a whole heap of things? So how do you, on a personal, on a vocabulary level, carry the power of what I was talking about? The simplification of words, knowing what you're speaking about. Because the judge is going to start flicking you, just like that square box I showed you. Every time he sees that, he'll flick, and he'll cause an interruption. He'll go like that on the desk. He'll get a piece of paper, thick piece of, you've seen it happen many times, yeah. Or the gravel. The gravel is a stamp, symbolic stamp of a postage stamp, yeah.
They don't have them in the UK courts, do they? I think they're only in the American courts, these gavels.
Yeah, gavels in the UK courts.
Let's not go over that.
Okay.
A gavel is an interruption. And in the world of psychology, that's called a handshake interruption. He's causing an interruption. He's going like this purposely. Yeah? To interrupt you, because you're in a frame of thought. You're in a frame of thought of seeing this at a particular angle. When he interrupts you, the angle changes. So you don't take jurisdiction of what you are talking about. This pointing that way. He's now got you pointing that way. I know your tricks, boys, girls.
Distracting your focus of attention.
Yeah? This is what he's doing. He's swapping jurisdiction. Don't you want to claim human rights? You are human. Define the word human for me.
Someone that cannot own property.
A monster cannot inherit his blood, cannot inherit wealth, and cannot inherit anything else. Equity. Yeah? That's the game they're playing. Your subconscious knows what human means. Do you remember in your days, if I can be so poetic, they used to make liveries of milk and bread and so on and so forth, until somebody came along and put the word DE in. Now you have delivery. I thought a DE means no livery. So you have no livery. Somebody did that in your history. And if you find out who that was, you'll find out who the corrupter of your language is. And he or she is usually sitting in the middle of their lodge. You would work out the rest. There are specific points in your history where your language is purposely corrupted, forced upon you. And I'll talk through about the corruption of language, how it takes place. If he was an Irishman, say, just at the turn of the century, and he spoke Gaelic with me, and I was the British Empire there, what would I do to him? What do you think I would do to him? I'd give him a chance, learn my language. I'll horsewhip him. I'll beat him. And if he refuses, I'll behead him. That's all in the history books. If his children speaks Gaelic, they are taken out and beaten.
Over the drum.
Yeah.
They take the
If I went to Scotland and I found out that he was speaking Gaelic, and Scottish people were speaking Gaelic and Welsh and so on and so forth, I'll do exactly the same thing. And if I came to Britain, and where I live in an area where a tribe used to live called a Roding tribe, they all disappeared because they refused to speak the language. So it's not the bloody British that are doing this. Yeah? They refuse to take the language. What's important with the language is more profound than most people can imagine. And I give this analogy normally. Your operating system on a laptop, for example, usually runs on a free software. What's that called? A Ubuntu? What's the other one called? Linux? They're all near-perfect operating systems. They're near-perfect operating systems, and they are free. And they work seamlessly, and they work effortlessly. And they occupy only a small part of their memory to do that. It's uncorrupted. Other people come along, like Apple, and create a really good interface with it, make it very smooth, make it very palatable, easy to look at, aesthetic, and they make money from it, which is a good thing, is it not? Other people will come along, corrupt the very core of it, the very kernel, and it's called in computer language the kernel. They corrupt the very kernel of it, and they create an entire infrastructure constantly repairing that kernel. Do we know what that's called?
Virus, antivirus.
Microsoft?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah? That's what they did. They corrupted the very core of it.
Well, it's based around a pine cone, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Kernel.
So when you corrupt something that works near perfect, you make a lot of money from it because you need to constantly fix it. Sounds like something like the pharmaceutical industry? Yeah?
Vaccines?
Anything else? What operates your operating system? Your own CPU?
Pineapple.
Weetabix?
It's your words. The program is the words. It's the words. It's the words that move you from one jurisdiction to the other. It's the one that navigates you from one point to the other. Without that vocabulary, you will not be able to even get yourself up from the chair, as any hypnotist can tell you. Wake up, not awake, because that means go to sleep, no wake.
That explains why I've never woken up yet then, eh? I'm still learning.
It's the language, folks. Once you remove these words from your vocabulary, you got your back, the vocabulary that puts your subconscious in operation. The vocabulary of, say, David. The vocabulary of, say, people that are in possession of their own thoughts. When Webster's dictionary came out, what did Webster say? He said, the greatest crime I've ever committed was the bastardization of English, the English language. Those are his own words. When your country, or any other country, he speaks a language that's not been uncorrupted, it usually means that language or that culture doesn't punish the truth. If you punish a child for telling the truth, it will learn to lie. And it will create an entire imaginary, illusionary world in which to navigate from one point to the other, through its parents, through its societies, constantly lying, fibbing, what's it called? Fibbing, yeah, constantly fibbing, lying its way through life. But you have a language that does not punish. You get rewarded for telling the truth. The language becomes so refined that you're now speaking the facts as the facts. Does that make sense? You imagine a mother that doesn't punish a child for spilling milk or burning a house down, but rather is more concerned with how the child is or the baby is. Doesn't punish it. Oh, what have you done, sweetie? Oh, I've accidentally left the tap on and left the plug on. The house is entirely flooded. Well, okay, let's go and fix it, shall we? There's no punishment. But if you punish the child, it will learn to tell the lie, and the damage will be much greater. So you won't get to know about it when you come home. You get to hear about it when you go to bed. Does that make sense? And you can work your own way through how this works. You punish a child, you create a language that revolves around lying. So when they encountered languages that did not punish their children for telling the truth, they banned those languages. And the penalty for speaking those languages was death. As they did with the Gaelic people, as they did with the Asian people, as they did with the Hawaiians, as they did with most of America. Examples of corruption of language within your own lifetime, by the way. Say I was a farmer. This is a farming culture now, say 60, 70 years ago. It's mostly agriculture. I get married to this beautiful lady here, and she becomes my wife. And I'm her husband. Anybody give me an idea what husband is? What that means?
So you shepherd things around, or manages or something?
Yeah, I'm a husband. I'm practicing husbandry, animal husbandry. So that's the language that they've given me to show them that this person has taken jurisdiction of the language that I've given them. She's my wife, and I'm her husband. I am actually practicing animal husbandry on her as one of my animals in my stockyard. If you ask the liberated women, they will tell you why they objected to the word husband, because that's what it means. They created that for you. So now we're out of the agricultural industry, agricultural time zone, and we're in, say corporate jurisdiction. You are now persons. And the way that I get that through to you is that, look, I don't think it's important to distinguish in the workplace whether she's female or either you're a man. Yeah, so we should become sex neutral, gender neutral. And we'll call it a person. But what does a person really mean?
Employee.
An employee of a corporation.
A fictitious character.
So that's how they know you're completely sold on the idea. You're a person. Okay. Well, you're on the territory of Ford Works. And I'm the Ford manager. The policy in this factory floor is what I bloody say it is, because it's my factory. You speak like a person, I'll give you that jurisdiction. Yeah? So remember, they keep telling you the truth, the facts. So when they ushered in, I think when they organized a march a few years back, it was 30,000 police officers. Don't quote me on the numbers. 30,000 police officers took to the streets of London. And what did they protest? They said, we are not police persons, we are policemen and women, because we judge the situation, and with our judgment, we will act and we will move to take it further or not to take it further. So we will decide whether this person should have a ticket or not. It could be a genuine mistake. But if you say I'm a police person, I'm there to force the laws of a factory floor, of a corporation. And what do they do now?
Policy enforcers.
They're policy enforcers. Yeah? Law enforcement. Law enforcement. Not men and women using their own vocation, their own thought processes to find out what the Mr. Cameraman is up to. What this lady is up to. Why does she want to give me my name, her name? Well, she doesn't really have to. She doesn't want to make contact with me. Well, that's perfectly fine. Let's check her car out anyway. It looks roadworthy. Okay, missus, I think you're on your way to go. But now, since you live in a corporation land, this land belongs to a corporation, that's why you pay council tax. Yeah? That's your duty, the duties that they put on you, because you signed it away with the anti-terrorist legislation. You got a corporation to protect you as a man or a woman. They have the right to put a duty on you. And as every judge would point out to you, for every right, there is a duty. Pay your duty. You signed away your right. You live in the corporation of Britain, and the law enforcement officers are the enforcement officers of the corporation policy. If they decided you are illegal, you are illegal. Because that's the factory law policies. But if I'm a guest in that factory floor, walking through postal roads, using postal systems, you have to respect me for what I am. Yeah? So when they invite you to court, what you guys going to do now? Treat it as an invitation if you want, or keep it within the contract vessel, the document court. Yeah? If they're sitting up on top of them, and you stand up, you recognize them as the captain of the vessel, don't. Stay standing or stay seated. They force you to stand up, they'll try to, if they can't get you to stand up, I beg your pardon, they'll walk out, they'll run out the court. And they'll threaten you and try to get the security guards to get you to stand up. Or they'll walk out the court. You say to them, get back in here in court. Get back in here now. Don't you dare leave the court. This is my court now. And at that time, remove all the boxes. And you say that you do that by saying, I remove all planes from this room, and I remove all boxes from this room. And you are now my fiduciary. You are now honor-bound, duty-bound to perform your duties as a fiduciary.
What's the first thing you remove? All what from the
Levels
planes?
or boxes or both, and both.
Planes.
Yeah.
Level plane.
Yeah. So what you're doing is you're creating a level playing field. You're removing all the disabilities that they've created for you. That person now is reduced to a fiduciary, and you've got to do that before they leave the courtroom.
A puny judge.
I beg your pardon?
A puny judge.
A puny judge?
Puny judge. Section 9, 1981 Superior Courts Act. A puny judge is a judge when he's reduced in stature to no more than an umpire.
It's not the same status as a magistrate.
It is all.
I can't hear you.
He's a puny judge.
He's a puny judge.
Puny judge, as in puny. It's a puny in French. It means he reduces in stature to a mere umpire to serve you.
Okay.
Section 9, the Senior Courts Act 1981.
There you go, folks. Look it up. Don't take his word for it, and don't take my word for it. Look it up. Find out for yourself. With this video will come links. You go and find out for yourself.
Section 9 is superior.
Remember, you are responsible for the things that you do. Yeah, you have to speak like a man and woman. This is not a message for corporate persons. This is not a this is not a message for people that speak in a fictitious language or go around expressing opinions. It's for people that want to know what the facts are and move upon those facts. Not act, because that's just an actor acting. Yeah, to move upon those facts, to navigate through those facts. That's a maritime expression. Yeah. Full stop. Learn to put the full stop in your sentence. Otherwise, it's a continuous process. It just goes round in your head all the time. You have to create closure in what you say.
Transposition of the thought, but stopping it at the point.
Yeah, make what you say it, and put a full stop to it. If it's a question, make a question sound like a question. Yeah. If it's a statement, then qualify your own statement and make it sound like a statement. But what you can't do is what they do, which is to make accusations, in other words, make statements that sound like questions, and then put you in the impossible situation of getting you to defend yourself. Look at him, bloody northerner, wears glasses, sucks on his pen, sucks on a piece of long tube that's got a death warning on it. Is he going to get any respect from me? I went to the lengths to put on the box. It's going to kill you. They're called death sticks. I'm quoting Star Wars, of course. Death sticks. He smokes them. I've done everything I can to give this man as much power and dignity as possible. He's ignored me. Yeah? But if he starts speaking to me as a man that's in control of his own thoughts, he'll take jurisdiction over me. Have you noticed when you're in court, when they say something to you, people quite often sit back? That happens when you're taking punches. Judges are trained to see that. Yeah? I lean forward to the question. I lend myself to the question. That's because I know a little bit of boxing. Yeah. You move into your punches. You don't move away. Yeah. So when you start doing things like that, when you really move into them, then they get frightened.
They don't like reverse psychology on them. I always sit like this. If I'm in court, I sit back, and if I look at them, I do. I have my glasses to them, and I hate that. I hate it. Dip your glasses and look at them, as if to say you press.
Yeah.
That's the way they look at you, isn't it, really? Over the glasses.
Just give me a ring, talk to me, and if I think I'm okay with you guys, I'll let you know. Okay? Let me take some random questions now.
When you receive a document, or when a solicitor or anybody else, or any authority as such, writes a document, they tend to leave out the punctuation. Is that for purposes of ambiguity? And so they can't be pinned down?
Yeah, that's right. A dangling passable verb is what you call it. So they can't be pinned down. They will also mix numbers. They will also mix serial numbers, case numbers. So there is no, what do you call it? No, let me finish my own train of thought. With any order of custody is the word, custody. Because if I give him a piece of paper to take it to you, then take it to you, it has to have that custody. So he puts his autograph on that piece of paper, she puts her autograph on a piece of paper, you put her autograph, and it comes back to him saying, wow, that's the chain of custody. To break that link, they won't give you the same serial number, because then there is a trail of evidence.
So the mixed serial number.
That's right, yeah. And they write different letters. Like if you make an accusation at a solicitor or a court, they write back to you saying, we've taken your complaint into consideration. It wasn't a complaint.
Very often.
I did not make a complaint. I said, you took from me. Return it. You write back to me and say, I will look at your complaint. What they're doing is they're reducing their plea bargaining with you. They're reducing it to the point where it's just exited as nothing. It's just a misunderstanding. So imagine, actually let's make him the chief of Birmingham. I'm the conqueror. He's not actually a chief, he's actually a king. But as soon as I go into his country, I reduce him down to a chief. And then I reduce him down to the chief of that little small village. Yeah? And then I make him the tax collector, and he's as happy can be. That's how they work. Yeah? They reduce, and then give you a little bit of reward. Any questions?
In terms of the treaty itself, that was the ultimate law, I found it very difficult to find that on the internet.
Yeah. Google will give you everything that you want to know if you have the patience to find it. You have to scroll through. But luckily I have it on the computer, as a good Blue Peter show would be. Anybody know about Flag's operation as we're talking about Blue Peter? Do you know what Blue Peter is?
Just the child's program, as I understand.
They're flags operation. They are flag equities that determine how you're going to maneuver across all of this. All of these documents carry flags with them, by the way. When you put your flags in, you've got other jurisdiction. Miller has his own flag, the flag of being correct. That's the US flag, which he rescued because the corporation of the world, the United States World Corporation, threw it out. They threw the flag out. He rescued it and made it his own flag. And he called it the correct sentence, structure, parse, syntax, grammar flag, which is recognized. Yeah? So, what's this flag's got to do with anything? At the moment, I'm running on open flags. They're called open flags of jurisdiction. Open flags. So this is going out on the internet, it's going on social media, it's open flags. There's no conspiracy. I'm not hiding anything. Yeah? I'm opening flags. Let me just give you an idea now. That's Lord Drake sitting over there, whichever century he lived in. We're a group of vessels floating in a sea of space, going from one point to the other. I've got gold, he's got African timber, you've got tea, he's got fags. We're going along. It's in the middle of the day. Lord Drake turns up, yeah, and he raises his flag. It's skull and bone. It's announced to all of us in the broad daylight. And look how stupid this man really is. In broad daylight, he raises his skull and bone. So you can see it, I can see it, everybody can see it. Prepare for a battle. All of us can kill him. Why did he raise his flag? Why did he just wait for nightfall? It's no full moon. There's no moon at all. It's just a small crescent. Why didn't he do that? Just take me one by one. He has a much faster boat than I have. He can just take us all in one night. But he raises his skull and bone where everybody can see. He's following maritime law.
Announcing.
He's announced legally that he is in international waters a pirate, and he's given me 4-minute warning, albeit like half a day's warning, because that's how long it's going to take him to board us. When the IRA used to do their thing, they used to do what? Pick up the phone? Making it legal.
10 minutes.
When they send a bomb, they give you warning. A declaration of war. What idiot would declare that I'm coming? The whole point of being stealth is that you are stealth. That's the art of
warning.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's being honourable.
Yeah. So I can't prosecute him. I can't come after him. I can't come after him. He's done everything correctly. Yeah. And then he takes all of his wares to Elizabeth I, who gives him sanctuary, because she's the
Queen.
No, she is the, what's the word for it? The fence. The fence. She is the fence for the gold, the silver, the bullions that were coming out of the Aztecs and the Mayans from the Spanish ships, because he used to attack that. And he used to prop up her empire. And you as a Spanish ambassador would come before the Queen and make a complaint. Well, everything is done legal, go away. There's no case to answer. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're playing the most dirtiest tricks on you, in front of you, without actually telling you. When your conscious mind is aware of this, you can now access your subconscious, because it knows it's being lied to. It won't stand down anymore. There's no way that I can bully this little lady. She'll hit me back real hard. No way, now that she knows that. There's no way that I can make false claims against him, now that he knows federal law, how to prepare documents, how to bind documents, how to notarize it, how to keep the claim within the courtroom of the document, how to reduce a judge and opinionator to a fiduciary. What was the word again, by the way?
Puny.
Puny. How would you spell that?
I knew he was going to ask that.
Or anybody, any takers here? Phonetically even, just to help our viewers out.
P-U-N-Y is English, but peony is P-E-U-P-U-N-I-E-Y. EA, something like punia. It's a funny smelling.
It's a French word, I think.
Was deaf. The first thing you do is you change the culture by changing the language. If you create a language that tells a lie, you now have a corrupted system, and you just feed that system. Look how big that corrupter of that kernel is, of that operating system, how big it is. And how does it work? With the corruption, the kernel of the operating system. It's the language. You start to remove those words, and I'll show you how to remove those words. Already you've got 90% jurisdiction in possession of your own thoughts. You now know United Nations means no knighted nations. Knight means Knights Templars. Yeah? Unlimited credit you now means it's unlimited. It means no. You now know AB before a word means no. So I'm not an Aborigine. If I claim walking around claiming to be an Aborigine, my subconscious mind hears that, says you're no origine. Okay then, don't go making no claims now, will you? The word is origine, as Miller taught me. Yeah? Do you get it? It's the language. They got you to stand down.
Bad kernel.
Sorry?
Bad kernel.
Yeah. They corrupted the kernel. You removed the words, and you removed the things that corrupt the kernel. Did you know in the, I think it was in the, just at the very late, or just at the beginning of the 20th century, so in year 2000, Microsoft prosecuted, and I think this is, I'm guessing, I forgot about it, most of it anyway, prosecuted an Asian person, an Indian person, for removing the bugs from their operating system. That was in the news. That was like 10 years ago. They actually prosecuted the man for removing the bugs from their operating system. Yeah? Because that, the operating system, that is the bug, the corruption of it is what makes them the money. If you remove it, you have a Ubuntu or an, you know, those free operating systems like Linux and stuff like that. Mine is a Ubuntu operating system. Works seamlessly. Never needs any antivirus, doesn't need, nobody can hack into it. You could be the best hacker in the world, you cannot hack into that system. It takes 10 minutes to download. Sorry?
What's it called?
Well, just have a look. It's on my laptop there. Have a look. I can't pronounce it properly. Pronounce it for me, please.
Ubuntu.
That's it. Ubuntu.
U-B-U-N-T-U-B-E.
Just look it up on my laptop. It's sitting there.
It's Linux,
you know.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Linux.
Yeah, part of the Linux operating
I've
system.
heard of Linux.
Yeah.
So, just to recap, if you ever speak a language that doesn't punish, does not punish the truth, you have a near operating system. That means a near perfect language, where facts can be spoken freely, where you can go into a courtroom and discuss facts and the law. At the moment, no fact or law can enter a courtroom. Am I right? No fact or law can enter a courtroom. If a fact cannot enter a courtroom, what have they just told you? Come in, oh, where's it gone? Come in as a dead person, because no fact can enter a courtroom. And a fact is a noun. It has weight upon the earth. Yeah? But you can come there as a floating dead person. The way that you notarize something is you do exactly that, but at the end of your autograph, put your thumbprint across it, yeah? And at the top where the stamp is, as well as your autograph, put your thumbprint across it. That makes you the notary. So you don't need to go to the Queen's notary, pay them some money to do it for you. You're the fact. That becomes a notary.
Well, he said put it at the bottom, across the stamp here.
Hmm.
Back up.
Yeah, so I'll just show you. So that's the stamp. Okay, thumbprint it across the stamp. Put your thumbprint across it. Okay, and put a thumbprint at the end of here as well. That's your autograph. let me open it up properly. I'm sorry you guys at TV land, but you guys have got very small perspective. So you want to put your thumbprint across that stamp where the autograph is, and you want to put your thumbprint at the end of your autograph. We're okay with that? And that becomes a notary. So you've notarized your own document.
With the signature across the stamp and the thumb.
Correct.
Together both.
Yeah, can we use the word autograph? Because you're autonomous, and that thing there is a graph of your autonomy of your autonomy. Thank you very much, cameraman to the rescue. Okay, any other questions?
Is it okay to be publicizing your fingerprints?
Yeah.
So it would help people identify you.
Yeah, that's the idea. It helps you to identify as a fact.
The agencies that you don't really want to know about.
Yeah, exactly.
The agencies that you don't want them to know about you already know what your genetic makeup is every time you go through a scanner. They already know what your bone structure is resonating at when you go through those scanners.
Nevertheless, they've then got your autograph to add to it.
You're not in control of these things, okay? So use the control that you have, use them to your benefit. So this is what goes inside an envelope. So how do you now stick this into an envelope? You put it into an ordinary envelope, put the address it needs to go to, put a registered stamp on it. That costs £6 something in this country.
Registered stamp?
Yeah.
I'm registered and not recorded.
So I beg your pardon, recorded. There is two types, several types actually. The one that I'm talking about is called... Sorry?
Blue and silver packaging.
Yeah, that's right, blue and silver.
Private mail.
Yeah, and that costs around about £6 something.
75.
Sorry?
£6.75.
The special, they're signed for.
Yeah, that's the one that you want to use, the special one. Yeah,
Why special and not the recorded?
because it's not recorded. That's just a con, really.
Is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the sign for one, they just send it through your letterbox, you know. But it's actually recorded. That means you need to. All right, let me start from the beginning. Under UPU regulations, remember it's a near perfect system. When I send this to that person over there using the post office is going to guarantee me nobody else is going to intercept this. If they do, it's a federal crime. Armies will be marshaled to protect this. Armies will be marshaled. You ever break this one. And only he that has the name written on it, its full name with the address, which is the territorial location, using Ordnance Survey coordinates occupying that territory at that place where I have a treaty with to deliver that, can only be in receipt of this document by the autographing and the witnessing by the person that's delivering the post. Only he can be in receipt of this, and nobody else can. If anybody else is, it's a federal crime and you go to prison for 20 years for intercepting mail. Look it up, intercepting mail.
I wonder where Mr. Said, the postman, went.
So, because of that system is guaranteed with an autograph, you now have a near perfect way of delivering my cargo to him. It's inside the document. So what's outside of the envelope is matched into here. And you can keep a copy of this for yourself, for your original copies. And they're called original copies.
I always keep my original copy and I post
Yeah.
it in.
If you use the other sticker, on your original document. So let me have that. That's your original document, photocopy. This is the Dorf version, little me. And I'll stick that, that's your original document.
So now back to original.
Yeah, we're back to original. It's backed up. And if I want to back it up a little bit more, because I want my cameraman to be a witness to this as well, I create another one. And where you hold me, the UPU have provided me with another sticker. Okay, so that's another copy, original copy. So he's got one, I got one. Oh, he also witnessed my document, so he should have an original copy as well. So I'm going to give him another original copy. And behold, I've still got another one. And I take this to the post office, he puts this across the envelope. Only he can be receipt of it. I've created a near perfect system.
Once they've stamped that, do you need to sign across?
You should do. You're supposed to.
Because they've stamped it and cancelled what you've...
Yeah, they've cancelled it, but we'll cover that at a later stage because the postmasters won't allow you to witness that. You're supposed to actually sign it. You know, every time you put it in, they make a note of it. You're supposed to put your autograph across there as well, to say that's you. Yeah, but you've done that. That's good enough, isn't it? And since there's two people witnessing this document, that means it's a corporation. Corporation means two or more people coming together. You can't argue with that. That's a corporate document. That's a federal document. That's a maritime document. And he's a receipt of it because nobody on this planet can go by that name at that territory. At that territory. Ordnance Survey marks. Because no person can ever be in that place. Because no two people can occupy that time space, that same time, being in receipt of this. It's a near perfect system.
I didn't know where that you could get it from the post office.
Yeah.
I usually go in and give them my...
They give you a roll, a big bundle with about 50 on it.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's only when you use it you actually pay for it.
Okay, good.
Oh, really?
I didn't know where that.
Just go in and say I want a roll of the blue
Delivery.
or a roll of the orange. And
You
just
pay for it.
No, you don't pay for it. They just give it you.
Okay.
So you might have roll with 50.
Yeah.
It's only when you use it and when you stamp it on that day, then you pay the value for it.
What's the
Apart from
importance? What is the importance of having witnesses?
To verify the truth.
To back it up. When you go into a courtroom, there's one judge and two people sitting next to each other. There's three people already against one person. There's a barrister, there is the husher, there is a bosun, there's security guards. There's about 10 people working against you and you're standing alone. Go in with friends. Make friends. Yeah? Keep the community tight. Make friends. Go into court together. Don't let them separate you. When I go into Ireland, they do try to separate. So the person that I'm helping out will be standing in the middle, and the person in front will also be another friend of mine. He'll be the person, or she, be taking notes and distracting the judge. You want to play games? I'll play games with you as well.
I always take someone that does the recording every time.
Yeah. Everybody's heard of tic-tac? They're playing tic-tac in the courtrooms. The barrister's sitting there going, talking to the judge, yeah, in their simplistic language. This is how screwed up these people are. Not honour-bound, duty-bound or anything like that. Have no respect for them. When they act honour-bound, duty-bound, then show them your kindness. We covered what courtrooms are, and they are actually vessels in dry dock, and you're entering foreign territory, and the judges are supposed to be moving as or acting as fiduciaries, but they're actually taking jurisdiction as the captains of their vessels. That means they're the king of their vessels. And all they want to do, and this is quite important, this is where the real information comes. This is where the stuff why they do this, make it more real. The courtrooms are essentially there to remove commercial energy from you guys on an individual basis or on a tribal level or entire countries, and use the courtrooms as a conduit to take it back to the people that do not have any creative energy or any commercial energy. The only way that I can give value to my fictional money, that is printed money or fractional money, is to give you some of it, enough of it, for you to, for example, if you're a farmer, to develop your farm much further where it's now productive. In other words, you have converted the money, the fictional money, the paper money, into something that is real. Yeah, into commodities, as he says. And then to remove as much of that commercial energy, anything up to 80% more, and then use that building, the courtroom, as a conduit to the people that do not have the ability to create things. From what I have gathered from the people that have had meetings with these people is that they lack creativity. From what Russell told me, Russell Gould that is, these people are xenophobes, the ones that own the UPU and the ones that control the IMF or the IMF family. Xenophobes. Xenophobe is not what you think it is. It means the fear of a stranger. So the conscious mind, they gave you another understanding, the fear of Jewish people. It's not. It means the fear of strangers. They're xenophobes. Yeah? And they have no creativity. So they create these mechanisms and the courtrooms to remove commercial energy. And they do that by creating the near perfect system. And underneath that, they slip in the poison. Yeah? Who's doing all the damage in the US and in this country? Who's removing commercial energy from the country? Yeah. And who are they doing it for? The federal system. The federal creators of the federal jurisdiction, the UPU. Yeah? If it's done in Ireland, it probably goes straight to the Queen, who would be the figurehead for the people that she is the figurehead of. Yeah? That's how they get the money off of you, is that they give you the illusion of currency, paper. They give you enough of it to make something of it, give it real value, sweat equity. Biblically, we call that earning, living. How did you phrase it?
By the sweat of your brow you shall live. Yeah,
by the sweat of your brow, which is known as sweat equity. Yeah, and once you've created this sweat equity, they remove it from you, and they put even laws in place, and they openly advertise it. So, as a human being, you cannot inherit your blood, you cannot inherit wealth, you cannot inherit anything. And what's most important is that your children do not inherit the wealth that you made, because if your children inherited it, then they wouldn't be able to remove any commercial energy from you to them. That's what these systems are about. And they created the language, the poisoning of the language for you, under the threat of death if you don't speak it, and all these systems that you see around you. That's why all of us have to go to work day and night, and there's no closure on how many hours we can work, how many hours we should work. There's no closure on how much tax you have to pay. You don't ever have any closure. You don't even have closure when you passed away. They're still in control of your inheritance. There is no closure until you, with the use of your will, albeit your thinking, because it's your thinking that will get you there, put a full stop to it and he's saying, no, I ain't giving you any more commercial energy. Full stop. If you can find that within yourselves, to say that within yourselves, you're now in possession of your own thoughts. In other words, you're speaking like a man and a woman. And what does a woman mean? Man with a womb. When religion speaks of it, what do they get you to believe? It means man, woe man. Woe unto man. Man of sorrow. That's a lie. That's the duality in language. Telling the truth to the subconscious mind and lying to the conscious mind. A woman is supposed to be a sorrow person. Ain't going to happen anymore, is it? Now that we know the language, you created dualities. And where you created no dualities, you've created hundreds and thousands of words, meanings for just one word. Yeah? We know what they are, so the game is over. No more removing of commercial energy. The money that I make is mine, and I will keep it. Full stop.
The treaty.
The treaty.
And articles that's relevant.
Okay, so for example, if you type in Google title, not statutes or laws, because what's a statute? It says statute. What's a legislation? It's a leg of a statute. What's an act? It's an actor acting. What's parliament? Passing statutes and laws. Acting out. It's acting out. What does parliament mean? It means parlay. Talking, M-E-N-T, mental. They're openly telling you this is a talking shop. If you want to join us, let's have a really good talking shop and you become a member of a talking shop.
Mental exercise.
That's what that's about. Who passes laws? Parliament sanctions the laws. It's given to them by the directors of Parliament. What they did is they got you to vote for the person that would be in control of that Parliament. That Parliament now makes the directors the beneficiary of the trust. You're supposed to be the beneficiary of your own trust. So the directors are the beneficiaries of the trust. So the commercial energy goes to the directors. The directors direct Parliament to say what they need to say. The laws, statutes and so on and so forth have been passed. So the long-winded way of saying that is if you type in titles, Title 18, do it and you'll find out what Title 18s are. If you want to know what maritime law is, look up, I think, Title 46. It will show you. Cornell University has a beautiful website that lists all of these things. And you can do all your research there. Or any one of those government organizations. And they will give you the codes, the titles, the laws, how these things work. It will give you how flags operate. Open flags like Blue Peter. I think it means permission to land. That's what a Blue Peter flag is. Like a white flag means that I wish to make contract with him. It doesn't mean peace. A white flag with a red background means that it's target practice. Red cross. Yeah, open flags, openly telling you what they're up to. The British flag, that's a double cross, by the way. I think you guys mostly know that. Yeah.
Three crosses, British flag.
Yeah, look at Manly Hall. I'm working on trying to expand the book to what it originally was, because it was supposed to be all the works of how the language works, neurology works, the flags and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to put that words back in. The only person that has the true copy of it is David-Wynn Miller. He's got the original. He's keeping it. So I thought to myself, since he's taught me so much, it's taught me to put the words back in that they took out and take out the words that they put in. Why can't I do that with Manly Halls? Yeah, so that's one of the things I'm working on. The other thing that I'm working on still, because I need to record it into the Bureau of Facts and Weights and Measures, is the expansion of the Earth. And that's just a simple calculation that any Earth scientist can perform. But it will take about a month or so to make those calculations final and to put notary signs on it. So notify it with the thumbprints, with the stamps, and send it off.
So you've done a document which you want the public to be aware of or notice to the public.
Yeah.
Can you go to Bureau of Weights and Measure and register as a fact?
If it's a fact, gold is a fact, atomical numbers are facts, I'm a fact. Your birth certificate, your certificate of your birth should be listed in the Bureau of Weights and Measures because you're a weight upon the earth, albeit you're a weight on the earth. What they did is they robbed you of it. Yeah. So when he enters into your world, when your son enters or daughter enters in the world, they enter as a fact. Okay, that's the power of it.
Can you then use that in a court case to establish a fact which the court can't then challenge because the fact...
That's what I'm working on. It's probably an original thought that I have, but instead of doing it for a person, I thought I'd do it for the entire planet. Yeah, because you live on the planet.
Same principle on a larger scale.
Yeah. How you publish documents of this nature is to put it on Facebook or any open social media website because they created all these mechanisms for you so you can, yeah, created for them, created by them for you.
It's in the public, it's been
introduced. Yeah, like search engines, for example. Google will give you all the information, most of the information that you need, but if you want to refine it, you have to go back to what the original search engines was. Which they call torrents.
Yeah.
Job of Google is to rob you of the torrents because torrent went looking for every computer on the planet for the information that you asked. Yeah, where it had no censorship, but they robbed you of that. So they gave you a central server, a library system. Yeah, So that is that.
I'm not
Sorry,
clear
go on.
why you denote such significance to the possibility that in line, as I understand it, in line with the expansion or accepted expansion of the universe, that the world must therefore also be expanding, and if so, to my mind, it would probably be by a microscopic amount. And why is it significant to actually make or refute this theory? What's important about it?
The language that we speak in is in the language of scarcity. Oil is scarce, water is scarce, the air, I'll answer your question in the full. The air that you breathe is scarce, everything is scarce, everything is going to run out, even the space that you live on is going to run out. If you remove scarcity mentality, you get people thinking in abundance mentality. Because abundance is a theory, not theory, it's the fact of nature. You plant one seed, it gives you 1,000. It's abundance theory. Dr. Covey, in the habits of habits of highly successful people, put it beautifully. You know, the scarcity mentality versus the people that think in abundance. The earth is abundant. They robbed you of that. In Russia, when they dig an oil well, they let it run dry. When it runs dry, they let it sit there for a few years, and then they come back in and retap that well, because they know the oil fills it. Yeah? Water is generated in your planet, trillions of gallons every single day, and it evaporates with the heat. The heat carries it out into space. It's constantly rejuvenating itself.
Well, how come the North Sea is running out?
I beg your pardon?
How come that the volume of oil, for example, coming from the North Sea oil fields has diminished by something like 80% already, and the projection is that it will actually dwindle over the next 5 to 10 years to virtually nothing and trundle along onto 500,000 barrels or 250,000. So how does that, if it's all being topped up, why does it run out?
Why does it run out? I just told you it doesn't. Oil fields are retapped. Russia oil fields, when it runs out, when it goes dry, they just leave it to sit for a little while, and then they come back where the water fills. The aquifer under your planet, under the continents, are created all the time. They give you the idea it's water seeping through. Yes, some of it is, only a little bit of it, but it's actually water generated within the earth.
That oil in the North Sea, it's proven that it's producing much less now than what it was in the 1980s. Boom time has gone again, or what?
What I'm saying to you, it is that it is absolutely essential that I get you to believe that the oil is running out, that I will go to any lengths that I can to go to the most remote parts of the world to give you the illusion that you need super technology, super drilling mechanisms to be able to tap that oil. When I can Google, and you can do this right now, and you should do this right now as well, geological map of Great Britain. Oh bloody hell, half the country floats on oil. And you go to Windsor, where the Queen lives, oh, it's a bloody oil well there. How the hell is that getting out? How deep is that? You ask these basic questions, oh, most of this country floats on oil. But they'll tap it from the North Sea to give you the illusion. But if you ask any farmer, if you tap the water supply from the aquifer or the oil that's sitting under your farm, the Queen come and take your land away because you only own 6 inches below the soil level, the topsoil. Is it 6 inches or 5 inches? I've forgotten. Who cares about a few inches? Huh? Fact. That's a fact. Every time these people give you this information, it locks you into scarcity. I'm expecting the oil fields to run out a little bit, yeah? Especially when they overpump it. Leave it for 10 years like the Russians do. 5 years, 3 years. Oh, and behold, there's a new pot of oil there. The aquifer is running low. Oh, leave it there for a little while. Let's come back next month. Oh, bloody hell, it's seeping. The Vikings used to take their boats to the Middle East. Did you know that? To have them corked using oil. And they did that throughout the Middle Ages as well, because the oil used to pour out everywhere in the Middle East. The Bukhara regions in, the Bukhara region, I think it's called Bukhara regions in Russia, near the Black Sea. The oil is so plentiful it pops out in bloody creeks. Yeah, it pops out of the earth. And these places have always been, traditionally, throughout thousands of years, where they would caulk their boats. They would make them waterproof, and they would take it there to make it waterproof. That's the service that they provided.
As I understand it, you can't run out because it's the way the sun rays interact with the medium to produce this. So as long as there is the sun, and when the ray gets beneath the earth and it reacts with certain minerals, that's the net result. It might produce oil here, might produce gold there, might produce diamond there, but it's the ray, the actual sun's ray interact with that area.
The way that I'm going about it is on a geological process rather than a solar process. If the solar process explains a lot, I'll bring it in. But I do need an earth scientist, any volcanologist to be able to perform these calculations. And I did have one, but we suffered sabotage in Ireland. Any person that understands the solar system will be able to perform those calculations and what happens when you expose elements to the sun's rays. Yeah, these calculations can be performed in under a month. Just as the Chinese can build a Royal Rife microscope with 60,000 magnification using silicon lenses set by gravity. A droplet of silicon lens, no grounding, no nothing. And gravity will set it beautifully to the shape that they want it by controlling the temperature and the viscosity of the drop, creating this exact sphere that they want, exact curvature. Yeah? That's the level of robbery, the level of rape, the level of torture that they've been performing on you for so long. When I was doing social sciences, I was flabbergasted when my social science lecturer said to me, "Mark, do you know how old the steam engine is?" I said, "Yeah, of course, it's the Industrial Revolution. You know, how old that is, 200 years, whatever." You know, he said, "No." He said, "It's 2,500 years old." I said, "Come on, stop all this. You're always talking nonsense, conspiracy, and so on and so forth." You know, I completely dismissed it. He goes, "Mark, do you know what a condenser? Do you know what what gave the Industrial Revolution its power? It was the condenser engine." He said, "Do you know how old? Do you know how old that is, Mark?" I said, "No, look, come on, this is just recently." He said, "No, it's 2,500 years old, because we have fossils of the damn thing on people's desks." Yeah, they had condenser engines. Condenser engine simply means that when you cool the piston filled with steam, it contracts at a greater rate than it expands. So you get a double whammy. So you get a push of the piston, and then you get a suction because the steam is being contracted when you throw cold water over the cylinder. So it goes. Yeah, that's exactly how a HHO engine works as well. A HHO engine, which is just water with electrodes in. It generates 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part of oxygen. You put that into a cylinder, it will give you a spark, it will expand 3.5 times faster than the optimum level of petrol, and it will contract as well, so you get a double whammy. So you don't just get a puff, you get poof and an implosion as well. Yeah, they've robbed you of all of these things by just simply controlling the vocabulary.
And there are vehicles that run on air and water. I'm
Yeah.
about my one future. So when I've done with what I need to do, it's something I will look into.
Well, Mark,
it's interesting.
This is very interesting, but I have certain health problems and issues that I would like to address, and I'm very interested in what you have to say about MMS and MMS2 and DMSO. So can we move on to that?
Shall we?
No, it's all right. I mean, I don't mind sharing my health issues and it's general procedure about the MMS and DMSO treatment anyway.
Okay, so let's go with the questions.
What reading material directly related to UPU would you suggest? Any?
Yeah, go onto Google and just look up the power of the Universal Post Office. Look up on Wikipedia. It used to have quite a lot of information on Wikipedia, but they shortened it now. Or just come and speak to me after the seminar and I'll give you the UPU forms.
Okay.
Okay? The information that they give you, which I have on my desktop.
Have you made any?
I've got my memory stick.
Yeah. Very large memory stick, I noticed.
What contributions have you made?
Have you made any claims in federal court?
Yeah, everything is federal. You can't help but do federal. They robbed you of the federal jurisdiction because it's a near perfect system. All judges are supposed to be fiduciaries, but they're acting as the captain of their vessel under maritime law because it's a vessel in dry dock.
So we can do them for fraud there.
That's correct, yeah. Or reduce them to the fiduciary level. As you say, puny.
Other than what you've already said about going into the courtroom and reducing them to...
Empowering them, it's honour-based, duty-bound. You're not reducing them, you're actually giving the most powerful... you're empowering them to become the most powerful person in that courtroom, which is to be honour-bound, duty-bound. When a person is honour-bound, duty-bound, they are automatically the most powerful people. Yeah? The captain is only captain of the vessel, nothing else.
Self-interest.
Yeah. His job is to remove commercial energy. You're going to use him to get back your commercial energy. Or go down the conduit, put your hand down there and pull out all the stuff that they stole from you. Claims, as they call it. These are claims. I'm talking big here because I haven't done that yet.
Well, I've got a lot of claims to put forward, so...
Yeah, I mean, I have not successfully put a claim in. Yeah, I've only successfully got people out of the courtrooms and to reduce the judges. This is my next stage. For that, you guys need to work together. In Ireland, I'm okay to do that because they look after me. But in Britain, it is up to the British people to do what they need to do. Yeah, this is the great British public we're talking about. As he pointed out, it is the great British public.
Not so great British.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Great Britain is the country that treated with the UPU. Yeah.
My mama called it the Great Prison.
Okay, I think we are done.